Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and I just got back from the new film, Under the Skin. When thinking about Under the Skin, a big part of when I look at a film isn't just what it's about, but how it is about it, and how the director decided to tell a story. And the story of Under the Skin is really kind of like a B horror movie, kind of salacious, kind of a grindhouse thing, if you really just think about the plot. But how he did it in this very arty, quiet way with not a lot of dialogue and creepy music and intense visuals that remind me of Stanley Kubrick. It sneaks up on you, really. You think you kind of get it. And I feel like I understand it, but as it creeps and goes, the more I feel like I don't understand. But the visuals are telling the story in such a, almost in a straightforward manner, but a deceptive nature as well to them. And it's such a smartly directed film. If you look at Jonathan Glazer's direction in this film, you're really seeing a director who understood how to take on a story like this and not have it just be another genre piece. An alien who takes the form of a woman who's played by Scarlett Johansson, and she goes around in a big van and tries to pick up lonely guys and then takes them back to her place, which is kind of like a huge black void of a room. Like they go into a house or a room, then suddenly it's a black void. And she slowly walks with them as they take off their clothes and she takes off her clothes. But then they start sinking into the floor and disappear. And she puts her clothes back on and hunts for another man. As they break these men down and send their remains to, I think, an alien world. It's not very clear, but apparently in the book it's based on it's an alien world. So, and she keeps going and finding men that no one presumably will miss and that she can seduce and then kill in her weird black void of a room. I don't think I'm being harsh in describing the film that way because it is a very strange, odd movie. Jonathan Glazer definitely found an interesting way to go about this film, and I think his direction is probably the reason to see this film, because I haven't seen a director take on an idea like this in such an arty, strange way. But as I was watching it first, I was like, okay, well, this is a quiet film. She's playing an alien. Scarlett Johansson's got this arty performance going, and it's quiet, and she'll talk to some Scottish guys. Apparently when they shot the film, they had hidden cameras in the van so that she's actually talking to real people a lot of the time, and then they'd coerce them to be in part of the movie. It kind of crept up on me because at the beginning I was certainly liked it, but by the end I was so immersed in it and surprised how much I liked it. And it almost feels like, you know, she's an alien at first, being able to understand what her mission is on Earth to get these men, but on other times seems completely confused by Earth and its customs. And the film almost takes an alien approach to its direction. It has such a personal feel, but also an impersonal feel at the same time. It's personal to someone who's not human, so the film has almost an inhuman feel about it. Now, it can't completely do that because Jonathan Glazer is in fact a human, or as far as I understand it, he is. You can get some touches of humanity in there, but it does feel very removed almost, but at the same time very intensely from Scarlett Johansson. She does such an arty, kind of quiet performance. I literally saw Captain America last night, and then I saw this film today, and the range I've seen from her in a huge tentpole movie to a small arty film that is really quiet and her playing an alien and trying to understand humanity while killing lots of the male gender at the same time. She does it very well, and I think more of her as an actress because of this weekend of movie going than I have in a long time, especially in this performance, because she's so good at being alien in this film. She has kind of an alien way about herself. She feels so believable and real as an alien. It's really one of the better performances I've seen this year, just because she embodies it so well. She has this feeling about her that she doesn't really understand what's going on. Sometimes she's overwhelmed and doesn't know how to interact in certain situations whatsoever and gets kind of dragged into stuff just because she doesn't know how to talk her way out of it. She has kind of a script to talk to these men, but that's just really about all she can really do. She's followed by this weird biker guy who kind of helps her out with things, and they never speak, and you never exactly understand like how many aliens are on Earth or how long this has been going on or anything like that. And it gives it kind of a strange quality to it that leaves you with your imagination. It's not very well explained what exactly is going on with these aliens. You understand they want these guys, but like, why are so many of them on Earth? What's their motives? It just isn't explained in the typical way you'd expect from a film with this kind of a premise. It's really interesting and very visual in a way that I would expect more from an arty European film, and Jonathan Glazer does that so excellently. It's just kind of haunting in a way. The way this film is shot by Daniel Landon, who shot a lot of music videos and commercials, the way he shoots Scotland, he can show the nature and the cities and the oceans and everything that makes it both looks kind of murky and foggy. It feels like he kind of made it look kind of as downbeat as possible through his color correction and through his framing. It just really kind of, sometimes the environment engulfs the image, but then he'll have this huge wide shot and the background feels so overpowering, but you're still looking at Scarlett Johansson's character, looking at whoever very, quietly in the image, but you're staring at them while still being engulfed in all of it. And he just has such a masterful eye, and Jonathan Glazer knows how to use him and how to tell this story so well visually. This film really doesn't have that much dialogue going on. The cinematography of Daniel Landon has to tell you what you're going to know, and sometimes that isn't very much. It does feel like it's bathed in fog, but it feels so expressive and quiet, and some of the interesting, most filmic cinematography I've seen this year so far. This is really a film to see on the big screen and at good projection, because it's just a very beautiful and stunningly beautiful film. When watching it, I was surprised how much by the end I was into it, and how this is probably one of the most arty science fiction films I've seen in a long time. Reminds me of The Man Who Fell to Earth, Jonathan Glazer. This is his first film in 10 years, and the way he really came about this film shows how strong of a director he is. I've said this a lot of times about how you should really judge a film not what it's about, but how it is about it. And how this film does it is so unique and so arty and so interesting and so against trying to be ready for audiences. It really just is kind of almost like Only God Forgives. Just doesn't really care what audiences want from it. It's going to be what it's going to be in such an arty, in-your-face way, but also a very standoffish kind of way at the same time. And Jonathan Glazer does that very well. He was a music video director. He directed Karma Police by Radiohead, and he also directed Sexy Beast and Birth. And it took him 10 years to make this film, but I think it might be his masterpiece, but it's definitely a standout film for him, and kind of shows the potential he really has and how he can really present this story in such a way. It just kind of knocks me out. I never thought I'd see an arty sci-fi film anymore. He doesn't get too obsessed with an alien finding its humanity. Scarlett Johansson's character is confused by humans, but there's no point about humanity. It's more about this alien's perception of this world than what it means to be human or anything like that. It doesn't get as preachy as most alien films do. It's more kind of subtle in a lot of ways. The visuals in this film, I still remember so many of them, and I'm going to remember them for a long time. They feel just like stuck in my head. It's such a interesting horror film because I think horror is kind of something that gets too genre-centric, and you don't have a lot of arty horror and kind of cultish arty films anymore. You have a few, but they're really kind of going for more the cult angle than the arty angle. And this is kind of like a cult film done in a Bergman sense with Kubrick cinematography. Jonathan Glazer excellently directs a story that you never thought could have been done in a way like this. Almost like 2001, in which 2001 you have a lesser director doing something like that. It's going to be a fairly conventional space adventure film. But the way Kubrick did that film is what made it such a classic, and I think that's the same thing with Under the Skin and Jonathan Glazer in this film. It could be an exploitation film where you have this sexy girl trapping young guys and killing them, and it could get really conventional, have a typical third act. But this film kind of rejects all of that and does it in its own way, while still has her finding these young men and killing them and everything. But it's just such a cinematically expressive film. It's such a really, really beautifully cinematic film. A film that really wants to be artful and shove it in your face, but doesn't really care about shoving it in your face as well. It's like this film is exemplary what it is, and I think Under the Skin gets into my head and I can't really get it out. I was just kind of so interested in how an alien would perceive the world this way. It's a really interesting film. I don't know if I love it as much as everyone else, but as I kept thinking about it, I go, that was a really great film. The more I think I will have this film percolate in my brain, the more I think I will love it. And it's really a film that kind of creeps up on you, and by the end I was just like, wow, this is something else. Certainly it's no Shane Carruth or anything, but it's certainly in kind of maybe in that vein. But the way it's shot and everything, it's just really an amazingly rich science fiction kind of weird alien character study, but without really getting too science fiction-y at all. And Jonathan Glazer does that in such a beautifully amazing way, with a great artful performance by Scarlett Johansson. This is really one of the standout art house movies of the year, and it's a really contemplative and cerebral take on the material that you really wouldn't expect from a genre that never really gives that to you anymore. But Jonathan Glazer simply doesn't care, and you can tell from his direction he's going to do it anyway. He gave me such a pleasantly interesting and mature cinematic experience that I'm going to have a hard time forgetting. So if you have seen Under the Skin and you would like to talk about it, then comment below in the comments and subscribe if you would like to.